Man, I'm upset. I bought a new Colt revolver and they ripped me off. They didn't give me any recoil shields. This thing's probably a piece of junk. We're here today to talk about the Danson Brothers revolver. I'm going to give you a heads up right off the bat. We're not going to get into super deep into the history on this yet. I'm going to do a chapter 2 because there's a book out there that has not got in my hands yet, that is going to be in my hands, about all the history of these, and I haven't read it. I trust very little of what I usually see on the internet unless I've got it by a peer-reviewed author in my hands. So we're just kind of going to go over the basics of it. What is the Danson Brothers revolver? Okay, as always, the way we shoot groups is we throw away the flyer and count the inside 5. That's just the best way to do it. A lot of professionals doing it that way now. We're going to call this our flyer. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 2 in the same hole. All of that a little bigger than my fist at 10 yards offhand. Not a bad shooting gun. I first got interested in these a few years ago when Ian McCullough from Forgotten Weapons did a video on one that came through the Rock Island auction house. And it had a big old Texas star on the side of it. Now, I knew about them. I knew they were Confederate revolvers, and I knew that they were mostly regarded well. When I saw that Texas star on that side of that original, it got me to thinking, why would someone do that? And so the research that I have done, be it through lectures or through articles, kind of pointed me in the direction of something that was absolutely insanely awesome. As far as I know, they only made about 500 of these guns during the Civil War. They were Confederate guns. They were made in Texas. But they show up in pictures all the way out in the 1890s. And they have an excellent reputation amongst everyone who used them. As a matter of fact, there is a quote from 1862 that says, "The Danson Brothers is superior to the finest Colt revolver and will kill a Yankee wherever you pop him, unless it's in the conscience, because he has none." Nope, you hit it. Hi. There you go. Hi. There you go. That first one you just can't hear very well because it doesn't swing. By the way, guys, today we're filming up here on the 11 Bang Bang range. Much as I would love to be in the shade of the woods, where this thing comes from in Texas, there ain't many woods. So let's shoot it like it meant to be shot, out on the plains. Stop and make sure something didn't fall off the gun if we keep the cap falling. Oh, I shot over him. Shot over him again. Well, we were doing good until the last game. 30 shots in, guys. Free as can be. Why were these things so loved? They obviously have a few differences from the Colt. They're like if you married a Dragoon to an 1860 Army and threw a little 51 Navy in there too. That's what you get when you get this gun. No recoil shields, because there's several different stories about why that could have happened. Obviously, the one that everybody talks about, and I think is probably the story, won't know exactly till I get the book, is that the steel that they got in the Confederacy at the time, the billets they got, were not thick enough to actually make recoil shields. So they just got these thin little blocks of steel, made the gun without the recoil shield. Having shot this gun a whole bunch today, I can tell you that's more of a feature than a deficit to me. It's something that really I enjoy at this point, right? Easier to cap, better balanced, just an all-around good design. One thing I want to point out about no recoil shields on the Dancing Brothers revolver sure makes getting one of these cappers in there just beautifully easy. Yeah, there we go. And you're done. Just like that. He ain't calling nobody a Yankee no more, is he? Nope. That was not my best run ever, but it's on film, so it's staying. The gun just runs like no gun I've ever bought out of the box from Pieta or Uberti before, ever. This is an excellent, excellent gun. Now, we did do one thing to it. We doubled the hammer springs right off the bat. And then Noah sat around, this is Noah's gun, by the way, sat around the house for a couple days and worked that action about
a couple thousand times.
10,000 times. How many times, Noah?
A lot. I lost count.
And he just got it smooth as could be. We did not polish the hammer face. We didn't do any work on the inside of the frame. All we did was add that second hammer spring, because these days I know right off the bat, especially since I've measured the original hammer springs, Pietas are a little thicker than Ubertis. Usually original hammer springs are double the thickness of the replicas. So right off the bat, we doubled it. All right, if we get through this cylinder here, which by the way, we are still completely free, we will be at 48 shots without a cap jam and without the gun sticking up. No lube whatsoever. All right, die. Those three guys won't laugh at our mule anymore, will they?
Nope.
No, that jug's gonna get you. Get him! Is it getting stiff, Noah?
A little bit.
That's 54 shots in. And she's starting to get a little sticky, huh?
A little bit.
Nothing bad. Noah! What have you been holding out? That's not a bad group, shooting kind of quick at 10 yards. A little bigger than a fist.
I think.
Okay guys, on that last run we thought the gun was getting sticky 54 shots in, but it's not. It just turns out that this screw was backed out about that far. This is the bolt screw. And it was backed out far enough it was putting things in a bind. So let's put that back in. So 54 shots. No lube. Have not took the barrel off this gun yet. You can see how dirty it's getting. Remember, 25 grain Swiss. Round ball. No lube. 4.57 round ball. Still shooting. strongly suggest that if you're going to carry one of these, maybe carry it in a half flap or a full flap holster. And the only reason I say that is even though it sets pretty deep in this Slim Jim style holster, if I was working around camp with a hatchet, or maybe I was setting up tents or something like that, and I was carrying this a lot, I would be worried that if I were to drop the hatchet or the hammer or some tool I had, I might accidentally in a Slim Jim land it on one of those caps. And so that's why Noah is carrying it in a full flap holster, which not only is historically accurate military wise, protects the gun and probably protect you. Now if you were on the streets of Dodge City in 1872 for some reason carrying a Dancing Brothers, you may want something that you could get out of your holster a little quicker. But for somebody today who's just out shooting these or carrying them for hunting or camping or living history, I think a full flap holster is the way to go. 2 shots left in the Dancing Brothers. We're at 25 yards from a 2-liter water bottle. Nope.
Try him in just at the base, maybe.
We got it. Had to aim an inch below the bottom of it at that range. Bullet's still coming up. There's 60 rounds, guys. What else can I say? So we're going to do a little comparison. Here's a Pieta 1860 Army. It's always amazing when I pick one of these up that doesn't have the hammers doubled up, hammer springs doubled up anymore because they're so light. However, this one tends to cap jam. But if you look closely, you can tell the 60 Army has a completely rounded top on the barrel, and the Dancing Brothers has an octagon lug on the top. The other thing you might notice is the chamber and the cylinder on the Dancing Brothers is just slightly shorter than the one on the 60 Army, meaning you can't get quite as much powder in there, but it really doesn't matter. If you back it off 5 grains, you're still getting plenty of 44 caliber powder. The other big difference, obviously, the 60 Army has the Army style grip, and this 44 caliber Dancing Brothers has a Navy style grip. Now personally, I'm a bigger fan of the Army style grip. I just like it better. However, not having recoil shields, having the same length of barrel, as you can see, since the cylinder's shorter, it just has a longer forcing cone, kind of like a Dragoon versus a Walker. The 51 Navy style of grip and barrel and loading lever on this, by the way, the 1860 Army had a root loading lever that has the ratcheting teeth, you know, so it's a little stronger loading lever, but nothing I would say makes a huge difference. But I have to say, without the recoil shields, it changes the balance on this gun compared to this one. Makes it a little more barrel heavy. And that is actually a good thing, because when I hold them out, I can feel the weight difference on the Dancing Brothers, and it is just more beautifully balanced than that other one by a long shot. Now this one here, it's balanced fine, nothing wrong with it, but when I hold both of them in my hands, if I was just to say, somebody said, pick the gun you want just by holding it in your hand, outside of me really enjoying having my full hand on the 60 Army grip, I'm taking this one. It feels better. The recoil shields being not there maybe make it a little more dangerous to carry in an open style holster, but the recoil shields not being there make it lighter, better balanced, easier to cap, and I think it's just a better gun than the Colt design. Heaven help me for saying such a thing. One of the coolest things about this revolver is the fact that they only made a few hundred of them. They made a few in 36, mostly in 44. They made a few of them with recoil shields, but it was so well loved, it has become, even the small little niche of Texas history has become a Texas icon. And I understand why. I probably never would have understood why until I got at least a replica in my hand and shot it. But there's just nothing like it. There is absolutely nothing like the balance of this gun in 44 caliber in history. starting to think that the amount of disdain I have for the Walker, I have that much love for the Dancing Brothers. This thing is just absolutely awesome, guys. Like I said, we will come back into this. We will do a more historically driven video once I get all the information actually in my hand from a good peer review author. But right now we are just shooting the living daylights out of this gun and having so much fun doing it. Woo! This runs like an original. This is how they're supposed to run. This is how an original Colt would run. We're talking not even a fragment busting off this thing. We're talking pretty good group still, even at 60 rounds through this gun with no lube. We are talking powerful as a 44, balanced as a 51 Navy, more reliable than the Remington. It's got me dancing, it's got me dancing. You gotta do the happy dance now. Look, can we do the happy dance? You gotta do. All in all, great pistol. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you on the next video.